Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Altenew. We are making 4 cards and I have a special discount code for you, so stick around for that. These 4 cards all look a little bit different, but all look a little bit similar. And the reason that they all look a little bit similar is because these 4 cards were actually all made with the same stamp set. And not just the same stamp set, but the same one stamp. Like I just stamped it one time and got all 4 of these cards. So this is the Flourishing Bouquet stamp set. This is a very generously sized stamp set. It is 8.5 by 11. It fills a full sheet of cardstock. It also has coordinating stencils. Altenew released this as part of their anniversary. And here you can see that you can cut them into 4 pieces to have 4 separate cards, which is what we're going to do today, but we're going to add our own little spin on it because you know how we do around this channel. So here with the Stamp Wheel 2.0, you can remove the side piece, and this is going to allow us to let that full 8.5, 11 piece kind of hang over. In order to make sure that I had a good level stamping surface, I did use a second sticky mat that I own and just like butted it up right against the first one. I don't necessarily know that I needed it, but I just was like better safe than sorry. So if you have the Stamp Wheel 2.0, it fits on the stamping platform, like the lid for it, and you could just stamp it down yourself. It does mean you couldn't double stamp it if you don't have, if you're positioned in a way where it does kind of hang over, and you're concerned about that. But I didn't have any issues. I got a perfect stamping the first time, and then because I do like a bold black outline, I went in and stamped it again, and it stamped right over top of the first one perfectly. I had no issues doing it with this particular method. I am using the Jet Black Fresh Dye ink because I am going to be using their artist markers in a little while down the line. But like I said, this came out great. And then here I'm going to go ahead and stamp it a second time. I love how big this is. I think that this would be so pretty, and I may do this. I think this would be so pretty to do like a stamping and then color it or watercolor it or what, and then like put it in a frame for my craft room. I think that would be really beautiful. But today we're making 4 cards with it. And you know that I'm all about kind of like getting more for your money. So for me, this works really well. I will say, Altenew is actually having, what do they call it? Their craft haul, big craft haul sale, and this stamp set is currently on sale as well, along with a lot of other really, really great things. And then, like I said, I'll have a discount code here. I'll talk about that in a minute, but this is totally sped up. So the type of ink blending that I was going for, I like a lot of color variation. Not everybody does, and you're welcome to do all of the flowers the same color, all of the leaves the same color. I think that that is a really clean, beautiful look, but I like a lot of variation, especially when I'm going to be kind of mixing it up the way that we are today. So I have chose to use pinks, yellows, teals, and greens. And I'm going to let them intermingle. I'm going to let them kind of do their thing. You can see I am going in, I'm not just adding one color of ink, I'm building up the intensity of the color. I'm adding shadows with my ink blending, so that I will be happy with just the stenciling, which worked great. I was really happy with the way that it came out. Here I'm going in and doing the yellows. So I've done the pinks, I'm adding in the yellows. And then again, I'm going to build up the intensity for this. I didn't use every color in each color family, but I did use the majority of them. You can do whatever feels best to you. Altenew inks, the fresh dye inks, are self-leveling. So when you first put them down, they do maybe seem like they'd be a smidge splotchy, but if you give them a second to just kind of dry back, they smooth out really beautifully. And you can see that as the time lapse goes on, like when we first put the ink down, it'll appear a little bit stronger, but it does dry back. And then I'm going to go in and do the teals for kind of like the flourishy leaves. And I'm going to put the, what did I use? Forest Glades, like a lime green, a yellowy green on the edges of the leaves, just for, again, some more color variation. For the card, that I'm just leaving the stenciling on. It is a little bit of a play on contrast to make it more interesting. But the only thing that's happening there is the stenciling. So I needed to make sure the stenciling was going to be super interesting. So let's talk a little bit about here I'm starting with the oranges, the yellow oranges, and then I'm doing the pinks. The whole reason I did that was just to show you when you're doing this type of ink blending where you're mixing it up and the colors are just kind of doing their thing, it doesn't matter how you put it down. Okay, you could do pinks first, yellows first, greens first, blues first. It literally doesn't matter because we're letting the colors do the work, like of making things more interesting and blending together. You can do them any way that you want to. I will say though, whatever color you do last, typically is the color that you see the most of. So like in this case, I started with my yellows and then I'm putting pink on top of that. So it's going to appear to be more pink than it is to be more yellow. Okay, so the idea that I had with the 4 cards is I do love a matching set. That I am here for, and I think this would be really great to turn into like a card set that you would maybe give a friend. And because Altenew is so smart about how they put their stamps together, there's a congratulations sentiment in here. There's a thank you. There is a grateful for you. There's a happy birthday. There's a you are fabulous. There's just a simple hello. So there's a lot of options. So you really just need the stamp set itself. It does not have dies. I don't even know how they would manufacture a die for something this large. But you don't really need it because the impression is so large that you can just stamp a sentiment on it and really it's done. So I wanted to do something different, not all matchy. Well, I mean they do match because I have to be able to photograph them together. I am who I am, people. This is the way God made me. But I wanted to show how you could take this beautiful stamp set with these stencils and kind of make it your own. That you could add your own wow factor in different ways to the cards so that your card didn't look like Sally's card, didn't look like Judy's card, didn't look like Gina's card. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to do that a couple of different ways. One of them, I'm just going to leave the straight stenciling and I'm going to kind of make it a little bit more dramatic. The other ones, I'm going to bring in other things to add to it. Take what serves you, leave what doesn't. It's not every single method is going to be for everyone, and that's okay. Hopefully it will inspire you to kind of try something different and push past your comfort zone to bring some more detail into the images that you already love. So with that said, let's now talk about the discount code. We do have a discount code. And so here we're just wrapping up the stenciling before we get into the next round. So the discount code that Altenew is very generously allowed to share with my followers is 50% off of the 6.5 by 8.5 storage pockets. This is like a 10-piece set, and you can get 50% off with the code Kelly Storage, and that will be linked below. That is good for June 23rd and 24th. So you can use that. And then obviously like I said, they're having their big craft sale. So there's an immense amount of things on sale over there, which are really fantastic. And then here we have only one more stencil to go. This last one goes by really, really quickly. Because there's not as many things. It's just kind of like the leftover pieces parts, the smaller pieces parts. But so their storage pockets are fantastic. These ones are a pretty good size. The 6.5 by 8.5 fits most stamp sets. Obviously not this one. This one's very large. But it does fit the majority of them. And I like them actually for not just my stamp sets, but I like them for when I'm in the middle of working on something. This happens to me a lot because I'm a very disorganized crafter. that I'll be in the middle of working on something and then there'll be a deadline for something else and I'll have to kind of like pack it up and set it to the side. And my desk fills up really quickly with things that way because I am a bit of a messier crafter. So those style of storage pockets allow me to kind of like package up all of my things, my die cuts, my coloring, my stamped images, the cardstock I've pulled out because I love my scraps. It allows me to kind of pull all of those things together and put them in my storage pocket and then kind of set them to the side. So that way I still have room for the next project that I have to bring out that maybe has a deadline that's kind of snuck up on me, or that there is, another reason why I would need to be kind of switching over. It happens to me all the time. So here is our this just screams summer to me and I love it so much. So now from here, you will notice that when I stamped it, I stamped the image more to kind of like the left-hand side of the paper, which means I have more white space on the right-hand side. Where you stamp it on your 8.5 by 11 sheet does matter. For me, I wanted to have 2 fuller ones because my intention for the other ones is to trim them down. So here, first things first, I'm going to add my details with some artist markers, with some alcohol markers. This, again, is not going to be for everyone, but it allows me to kind of capitalize on the color that's already down there and not really have to think too much about what I need to do. So I'm just kind of following the shape that the stamp set is giving me. I know the 2 rules that I'm going to add shadows where one color or where one object meets another, and I'm going to add shadows where one object lays on top of another. Another reason why this works really well is if while you were stenciling, you kind of got color where you didn't want it, like for this section right here I'm coloring, I did get some like yellows and pinks in there. I can just go right over that with the green and it's going to, it still be tinted a little bit, but it's going to make it so that it looks green or that it looks teal, and kind of fixes that boo-boo for me. Here, again, I'm just going in, adding the shadows where the petals are meeting the base of the flower. And I am working darkest to lightest. If you are a little less confident in your coloring, you can work lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest, whatever works for you. And then, like I said, I'm not using all of the colors. I could use pink and yellow and green and teal, but I didn't need to because I already have the beautiful ink blending down from the stenciling. I can go in and add my shadows and things with just the pink and just the teal, and it's going to still work and still read as like this pinkish, orangish, yellow flower with these greenish teal leaves, even though I'm only using one color family or the other. For the lightest color, I really only used that to just help blend into the yellow. But again, I didn't cover up all of this. So here's the one we colored. Here's the one that's just the stenciling. You can see there's an immense difference. And that's one way that we can add to it. Another way that we can switch up the look is to trim them down. So this one, I'm not even trimming a ton. I'm just trimming off like a 1/2 inch on each side. But then this is going to create a frame. So my A2 size card will have a frame around it. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a background. Now, we talked about how there's no dies for this. So I'm just creating like a halo effect with the same teal color inks that we used, because the leaves seemed like they were more green to me than teal. So I chose teal for the background. And I just went from the lightest color, which is Dewdrops, to Aqualicious, Teal Cave, and then what is the other one? Galactic Stream. And once I got all the way out to the end color, the darkest color, I do like to go back through from the darkest color back through to the lightest color. I felt like it needed a little bit more contrast, so I did end up going just back around just the edges with the jet black and just like a small brush. But you'll see that there are some areas where I went right over top of that flower, and so things look like they have like a little muddy, like they have a little less contrast. So another way that we can add to So we've put in this background. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add details with my acrylic markers. These are, for me, these are like a sleeper hit for Altenew. I love these things, and they're such an easy way to add more to your images, whether they're stamps or dies. And I'm just going in and I'm just adding details. I'm not covering up all the stenciling. I'm just kind of like doing little flicks of the pen where the leaves are dipping in. I'm adding highlights with them onto the flowers. You can use them to completely, you'll see it in a minute here, I'm going to do it. You can use them to completely cover up stamped lines. So that like the veins in the leaves are now teal instead of being black. You can do so much with these, and it helps kind of break up where maybe I got the teal onto my flower where I didn't necessarily want it to be. So it's going to kind of mask that, add a highlight, and bring the flower up out of the background. Again, we're going to speed this. We're going to speed it up so you can see the whole thing come together. But here, like, especially with the yellows, like this is covering up that teal because it's an acrylic marker, acrylic paint. It's opaque, and we're not going to see any of that teal kind of shining through there. So this is a great kind of thing to have in your arsenal so that you can really, like, they are just so helpful for fixing boo-boos and adding dimension really, really easily. So yeah, so that's this one here. And, you know, I try you guys know, if you watch my videos, I try to always be like showing you little tips and tricks that hopefully, you know, you'll be able to use that will be helpful to you. Here, if you got any of the acrylic marker over the black line, you can always go back in with a fine liner and just kind of redefine that edge. This is the one that we're leaving just the stenciling. This is all that we're doing is the stenciling. And the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a background. Now, I'm adding in a black background so that we can have the most like wow result that we can without having to really do any other work. So I'm just using a black marker. I'm tracing around the stamped image, and then I'm just filling in the background. I only, like I showed it to you here, I do typically do this twice just so that it's kind of like a dark, bold black. But this is a great way to make your, like have your card that give it that pop without like doing a whole lot of work. Last but not least, the colored pencils. Colored pencils are a great way to quote Kathy Rakusin, get in the nooks and crannies. And in the nooks and crannies, where those shadows lie is a lot of where our dimension is. And so here again, I'm doing the same thing that I did with the markers. I'm not using multiple color families. I'm not, you know, going in and covering up all of that stenciling. I'm just using it to add a little bit of dimension and shape to my petals. So I did it with the darker pink, and then I'm going to do the yellow, and then I'm going to do a green and a teal. Just one color from each family. And one of the things, like with Altenew, because all of their stuff is color coordinating, it makes it really, really easy to just pull out the color that you need because they make that same color in almost all of their products. So I didn't show you building the cards. Or the stamping because it's not really the focal point, and this is already a pretty long video. I did want to show you here how I did the spatters. Again, take what serves you, leave what doesn't. Spatters are not for everyone. I am using the titanium white and the carbon black gouache with just adding a little bit of water and doing some spatters. The white ones got black, the black ones got white, and this one down at the bottom got both. So here is a final look at all 4 of the cards. I love the way that they came out. I think that each one really brings something different to the table. Don't forget that sale is going on. The Kelly Storage discount code is good through midnight on the 24th. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.